The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
This week's Parshat, Vayeira, when it comes to the Sodomites, those Rishayim, Abraham pleads and he bargains with God. You can't do it, I won't let you do it. How dare you destroy the righteous with the wicked? Judge of all the earth, not do justice? When it comes to his own beloved son, when God says take him and destroy him, he doesn't say boo. Chanoch, it's a very good question. Where is Abraham's complaint and argument when it comes to his own son? Those very words he uses by Sodom. How dare you kill the righteous with the wicked? Who's more righteous than his own son Yitzchak? Right? Nobody's more righteous than Yitzchak. And yet, when it comes to his own son, he doesn't say anything. Very strange. So I have an answer, but I think that the question might be better than the answer. The answer is, when it comes to the Akedah, Baruch Hu gives him a direct command. Take your son and bring him as an offering. I'm not asking your opinion, your input, just do it. When it comes to Sodom, God says, listen, Abraham, what do you think of my idea about nuking Sodom? So Abraham is saying, what are you asking me for? You don't need my permission to destroy Sodom, right? You don't need my permission. Why are you telling me this? Avi, why? Obviously you want my opinion. Well, I'll tell you, if you want my opinion, I don't think it's right. So by the Akedah, it wasn't an opinion. God gave him a direct command. Direct command, there's nothing to talk about. Just do it. By the Sodom, there's no command involved. What kind of command? Shem, you want to destroy Sodom, what are you asking me for? Because you want my opinion, so therefore, I'll give it to you. I don't think it's right. And that's the difference between the Akedah and pleading for Sodom. Pleading for Sodom. The Parsha begins with the three strangers are going to Avram Avinu. He doesn't know that they're what? That they're Malachim. He doesn't know. Why? They're angels disguised as what? As people. Why three? So Rashi says that one Malach cannot do two missions. The Malachim have a good union. The angel union does not allow them to do more than one mission per angel. So one came to what? Heal Abraham. And one came to announce Sarah is going to have a baby. And the third one came to destroy the city. So Rashi wonders, what about saving Lot? So you should have sent the fourth Malach. So Rashi says no. Hatzalah and Refuah is one mission. The angel union will not complain, Bainish, because healing Abraham and rescuing Lot is not two missions. Healing and rescuing is the same mission, saving a person's life. Whether you rescue him or heal him, it's the same mission, and therefore the union will not complain, and therefore only three malachim were sent, right? So God came to him to be bikecholim. There's one profession, Mindel, that God calls himself in the Torah. One profession. Ani Hashem roifecha. I am God, your MD.
Says it twice.
The only profession God called himself in the whole Torah. Therefore, every Jewish mother wants her son to be what? A doctor. Because it's God's profession. So the question is, if God is coming to be mevakeh choleh, God is the source of all healing. So why doesn't God to heal Abraham? Yiddish David. Why send a malach to heal Abraham? God, you're the source of all healing. You're coming to mevakeh choleh. Why don't you want heal him as well? Why send a malach? So the answer is, if God would have healed him, I would think Bikeh Cholim only applies if you're able to heal the person. If you're not Dr. Marcus Welby, MD, or Dr. Kildare, or Ben Casey, remember him? I'm dating myself. So maybe there's no Bikeh Cholim. If God would have healed him, Raphael, I would think only if you're able to heal the person does the mitzvah apply. Otherwise not. So God purposely did not heal him, to prove that Bikeh Cholim applies even though you're not Ben Casey. Remember Dr. Kildare? Even though not, you're still obligated to do the mitzvah of what? Bikeh Cholim. And then the text says 3 men, angels described as men, are standing over him. That's what the text says, Chanoch. Standing over him. Later on, when he does the mitzvah Achnosas Orchim, it says, "Who omed aleihem?" He's standing over them. What do I care? How could you stand over a person? First they're standing over him, then he stands over them. What do I care, Avi? Before he did the mitzvah Bikecholim, a malach towers over a human being. So it says, Nitzavim olav, they stood over him. But after he gave them the meal, it says, Vahu omed aleihem. Then he what?
He stood over them.
When you do big mitzvah of Achnosas Orchim, you tower above an angel. What a message. Therefore, before they stood over him, after he did the mitzvah of Achnosas Orchim, it says, Vahu omed aleihem, he what? Stood over them. So a human being can stand over an angel by the mitzvah of what? Achnosas Orchim. So Hashem comes to visit him, and he says, "Excuse me, God, please. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I got to take care of my orchim, and then I'll get back to you." So from here you learn out that Achnosas Orchim is greater than receiving God's presence. Isn't that bizarre? If a king would come to visit you, and if 3 orchim banging on the back door, they want to get a meal, but he tell the king, "Excuse me, let me take care of my guest." That's disrespectful. This is the King of Kings, Avi, not the King of Kings. So how come Avram wasn't disrespectful? And that's the right, how did he know it's the right, we learned from him, but how did he know it's the right thing to do? Hashem is visiting you, you interrupt the visit to take care of guests. How did he know it's the right thing to do, Mindel? I'll tell you how he knows. I'm glad you asked. Nothing happens by mikra, David. Abraham was thinking to himself, nothing happens by chance. Why did these guests come why couldn't they come before God's visit? Or why didn't they come what? After God. In the middle of God's visit they come. There are no chance encounters, Avi. There are no coinky-dinkies. So if the guests came in the middle of God's visit, that's a sign that God wants me to take care of them. Otherwise they wouldn't come in the middle. So from there, Chazal learned, Tractate Shabbos 127, Chanoch, that taking a guest into your home is greater than receiving God's presence. But why should it be greater?
Because he sends them.
You're right, so he sends them. You could refuse to take him in. But why should it be greater? We know the tafkid of all the mitzvos, Avram Valachta B'drachav, Mahu Afata, to walk in God's ways. Purpose of all the mitzvahs is to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Who is the greatest machnas or reach? Hashem. Every morning when you wake up, God says, "Welcome to my beautiful world." You wake up in the morning, right? Hashem said, "Welcome in my home." What's my home? My world. So when we do Achnosas Orchim, who are we imitating, Raphael? The big boss. We're imitating him, and that's what the purpose of all the mitzvahs is, to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'lachte b'drachav mahu afata. So by Achnosas Orchim, we are emulating HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore such a precious mitzvah. But how could it be greater than receiving God's presence? That's the question. Sprecher explains beautifully. To answer this question, he asks another question. When you greet a single person, you say Shalom Aleichem. Yehuda knows Ulpan now. A single person would say Shalom Alecha. Why even by a single person you say Shalom Aleichem in the plural? Says the Maharal. Beautiful. Because when you greet a person, you're not just greeting him, you're greeting his godly soul, his Tzelem Elohim, his Chelik Elohim Imal. So you say Shalom Aleichem even for a single person. You can ask your Ulpan teacher, why do you say Shalom Aleichem for a single person? The Maharal says that because when you greet a person, you're greeting the Shekhinah as part of God that lives inside of him. So Al Soloveitchik explains, according to this Maharal, Achnosas Orchim is greater because when you're greeting the Shekhinah, you're greeting the Shekhinah. But when you take a guest into your home, it's a twofer. You're greeting the person and his godly soul. So you're not neglecting the Shekhinah, you're intensifying the experience. Because God lives inside every one of us. We got a piece of the rock, Avram. Ki chelek Hashem amo, Deuteronomy 32. Ki chelek Hashem amo. God is a portion of his people. So Avram understood this. So when you take a guest into your home, you are intensifying Kabbalah Sol Malchus Shemayim. By greeting a person, you're greeting his godly soul, the Selam Elokim. And therefore, it's not an interruption at all. It's an enhancement. As the Balatanya says, how do you love God? By loving a fellow Jew. It's an amazing pasuk in Parshas Kisisa, David. One of the Yid Gimel Midas Haracham in Yehud, that's Notzre Chesed Alofim. God preserves loving kindness for thousands of generations. That's what it says in the Yid Gimel Midas Haracham. We say it all the time, right? Yomim Neroim. In the Tachton we say, the Sfardim, Notzre Chesed Alofim. God preserves loving kindness for thousands of generations. Whose loving kindness does God preserve? It says what?
Yes.
No. I'm glad you came today. It says Rashi she'odam osel lefanav. The loving kindness that we do for God. Rashi, take a pill and lie down. What are you talking about? Look at the Rashi, Mindel. Parshas Kisisa. The loving kindness that we do for God. So Rabbeinu B'chai says, what is Rashi talking about? How do you do loving kindness for God, David? When you do a chesed for a person, you're doing a chesed for God. It's a twofer. Abraham understood that. So when he went to take care of the guest, he was not interrupting his godly visit. He was what? Intensifying it. Enhancing it. Are you getting this, Chanoch? Avram thought that they're what? They're vagabonds. Rashi says he thought that they're pagans. He told them to wash their feet because they worship the dust of their feet. So therefore he told them to what? Wash your feet. Who's stupid enough to worship the dust of their feet? What is Rashi talking about? They worship the dust of the feet. What's the idea over here? So, if I wouldn't have heard the song by Kansas in the 1980s, I wouldn't know what Rashi's talking about. Let me remind you. All we are is dust in the wind, dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. You remember Kansas in the 1980s, that song? I don't know, you play that on your guitar?
It's good finger picking.
Good finger picking
I don't
song.
like the song. It's good finger.
That mentality from 3,800 years ago is alive and well. That's the pagan philosophy, David. It doesn't matter what I do with my life. We're just dust in the wind. So there's no obligations, there's no responsibility. I do what I please, because all we are is dust in the wind. So that song, David, helped me understand this Rashi. I'm bringing it on home, Avram. I'm rejuvenating. I'm bringing it back. That philosophy is alive and well, that pagan philosophy of dust in the wind. So therefore, no obligations in life, no responsibility. I'm just dust in the wind. And Abraham was fighting that philosophy, but it's still alive and well in that song by, I think the group is called Kansas.
Yeah,
Basement.
I remember.
Pretty interesting, huh? What? Now we know that the Parsha of the week always speaks to current events, Abraham, right? We're being rocketed attacked from Gaza. In the Parsha of the week,
And how?
Gror. Look on the map. Ancient Gror is Gaza. Avram comes to Gaza and his wife is terrorized. She's taken captive. His wife is taken captive. In Gaza, in Gror. They're still terrorizing us 3,800 years later. No coinkydinky, the Parsha of the week speaks to current events. So Avram's wife is taken captive. And what's his reaction? What's his reaction? Nothing. Remember we said last week, Chava asked me the question. His wife is taken captive in Mitzrayim and doesn't do nothing. His nephew is taken captive in Israel. He goes what? Rambo. So Rav Soloveitchik explained, because we only have divine aid and superpower only in Eretz Yisrael. Outside of Israel, we're nebish, we're defenseless. The promise, no of koach. We read last week's Haftorah Yeshayahu. God gives us extraordinary strength only in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, he becomes a Rambo by Lot, because Lot was taken captive in Israel, but he's passive in Mitzrayim. Then Chava asked me, but Geror is part of Israel. So where is Abraham's Rambonism in Gaza? He acts like a nebish. He doesn't do anything. Good question, right? So I answered Chava. Actually, Tziona gave you the answer.
That's right.
If you go back to the story of Mitzrayim, Exodus 12:17, when Sarah was kidnapped, God plagued Pharaoh's house with supernatural plagues, al davar sarai. The text says al davar sarai. What does that mean? By the word of sarai. So Rashi quotes Chazal, Sarah, she is the one that deputized the Malach. And she ordered him to plague Pharaoh's house with supernatural plagues. Al davar sarai. So Abraham found out about that his wife can manipulate a malach and bring down supernatural plagues on what? On Pharaoh's house. This lady can take care of herself.
No.
I don't have to what? Bother. You hear this, Mindel?
No.
Ah, yes. She had a good track record. God plagued Pharaoh, supernatural plagues, al davar sarai. The text says the same words, Avram Berkowitz, the same words that it says by Pharaoh. It says what? It says God had plagued Avimelech in his house. He made them, he stuffed them up from the front and the back. They were constipated and also they couldn't give birth. Al davar Sarah, the same words, Yehuda, by the words of Sarah. So just like Sarah called down plagues on Pharaoh, a plague on your house, Pharaoh, he called down a plague, she called down a plague on what? On Avimelech's house. The same words, al davar Sarah. You the same words. So therefore, Abraham had said, no sweat, my lady can take care of this. Then Sarah says, drive out the slave girl and her son, because he's not willing to share. It's just amazing. God, listen. What was the debate between Sarah and Abraham? Abraham said, can't Yishmael and Yitzchak share the land? Sarah understood better. You have to drive him out. He's not willing to share. Women have a bina yeteravi. Oslo's not going to work. Sarah says, hello. It's not going to work. And God said, listen to her. She knows better.
And also when it was on the occasion of Yitzhak's weaning,
Yeah.
that she noticed that Ishmael was making fun of him, was making fun of Yitzhak.
Right. And also Rashi said he was shooting rockets at him. Amazing Rashi in this week's Parshat Yehuda. He was shooting rockets at him. Hello? Arrows. Chitzim. Mazeh chitzim? Arrows. Right? So nothing has changed in 3,800 years. So Abraham said, can we all get along? We can share the land. Sarah understood better. It's not possible. He's not willing to share. Abraham, you're wasting your time. And God said, she's right. Women have a, right?
What do you Ishmael do?
Rashi said that he was using Yitzchak for target practice. He was shooting arrows at him.
From not sharing though.
What? He's not willing to share the land. He wants it all.
Question. So if Hashem acknowledges that Sarah is right,
Yes, go ahead.
how does he allow Ishmael to succeed in punishing Israel?
So that's the question, right?
You know, why does
That's
he
the
allow
question. Why does God allow it? Person has free will. Person has free will, right? You're asking, there's free will.
it? But Hashem could stop it.
Hashem could stop it, right?
He doesn't.
But he doesn't. That's part of the mystery.
Didn't miss it.
That's the mystery. That's why this is called olam. What does the word olam mean? Hidden. The word is called olam. Because it's this olam hasheker. because the truth is hidden from us. You want the answers? After 120, don't be rushed to get there. Olam ha'emet. The answers are only found in Olam ha'emet. This is Olam ha'sheker. This is all an illusion. It's a test.
Fake news.
It's a game. This is fake news. Olam ha'emet is after 120. Why is it called emet? David, sit down. You raised the topic. Emet. How do you spell emet?
Aleph.
Aleph, mem, tov. What is mem, tov? Met. After death, you get to see the Aleph. Who's the Aleph? The Echad. But don't be in a rush. Wait. After 120, emet. After death, you get to see the Aleph, the Echad. And then everything will make sense. But they asked the great rabbi, why'd you live so long? He said, because my questions can wait. I'm not in a hurry to get the answers. That's what he said. He can wait, right? So it's just amazing that he was shooting. Rashi quotes the word chitzim, and he brings a pasuk from Mishlei, zikim. Zikim means rockets. I'm not making this up. Modern Hebrew, I couldn't make this up. You look at Rashi. Rashi said he was shooting chitzim. Chitzim means arrows, but he quotes Mishlei 26, Yehuda, hayore zikim. In modern Hebrew, zikim means rockets. This is Mishlei 26, this week's Parsha. It's just amazing.
What week did he have to pick to shoot rockets? Was it the last week of the previous?
Yeah, Dafke this week.
Yes.
It's just amazing. Hayore zikim. Mishlei 26. He shoots rockets. That's what Yishmael was doing. So nothing much has changed, Rachmiel, in 3,800 years. Pretty amazing, right? Then we get to a very strange Rashbam. Very strange Rashbam. That Rabbi Kahana Zatzal would always quote. We know when there are two parshas referred in the Torah next door, there has to be a strong kesher. Right before the Akedah, it says, after these things, God tested Abraham, and he caused him such mental anguish. And right after that, it says, after these things, which things? The pasuk right above, he makes a peace treaty with the king of the PLO to give him Beersheba. After these things, God tortured Abraham, take your son and kill him. What's the connection? In the two parshas next door, says the Rashbam, God says, I gave this whole land of Israel, including the land of the Plishtim, only to you and your son. What right do you have to give it up? Take your son and kill him. So the Rashbam said that this was an onish. God was angry. When we give away, this is the Rashbam talking 1,000 years ago. Buddy, 1,000 years ago. Look in the Rashbam. I made copies today in Yeshiva. Avram Berkowitz has one. You read the Rashbam 1,000 years ago. When we give our precious land to our enemies, says Rashbam, it leads to Akedah. What does Akedah remind you of? What's Akedah? Slaughter. Smoke, fire, blood. That's what we got from the Oslo. So Avraham. But Avraham didn't know better, but we should learn from him. The Rashbam is saying this. Giving away our precious land to our enemy only leads to Akedah. Akedah means slaughter. What do you have in Akedah, Ever? What do you have there? Shchita, slaughtering, fire, smoke, blood. That's what you have in all terror attacks. What an incredible Rashbam. Rashbam was Rashi's grandson. He's writing this in the 1000s. Just amazing. What the Torah is teaching us over here. What the Torah is teaching us over here. The Abraham made a terrible mistake, says Rashbam, and therefore God gave him the anguish and the agony of thinking for 3 days that he has to what? Kill his beloved son. Yes?
We noticed too that Sarah says Garesh.
Garesh, drive him out. If she was alive today, they'd put her in jail.
Yeah.
Oh, good thing she's not around, Sarah. She says, drive out the enemy.
Oh.
Now let's say that.
Oh.
Right? Kahana said it and they banned him.
Hagar and
Right?
the son.
Islamophobia.
And it's
Right?
the same word we use for the disengagement.
Garesh. instead of Goresh our enemy, we Goresh our own people.
Right.
It's Mamish Olam HaSheker.
Yeah.
Mamish Olam HaSheker. God's a disengagement. It's called Goresh. But instead of driving out our enemy, who do we drive out?
Our own.
It's sick. As Bob Grant said, it's sick and getting sicker. Now, who sends Abraham to kill his son?
Hashem.
Who stops him? A malach.
Malach.
What's it all about, Mindel? God sends him to kill his son. And who stops him? A malach. Why did God send a malach and not stop him
God
himself?
didn't send them all. Abraham created them all.
Beautiful, David. David hit a home run. The Mishnah in Avos chapter 4, Avram says, when you do a mitzvah, you create a malach. How does the Mishnah know that? You hear what David said? God didn't send the malach. The act of the Akedah created the malach. The malach said, I'm living proof you don't have to go any further. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. You created me by the effort and the intent, and that's maspeak. From here the Mishnah knows that every time you do a mitzvah, you create a malach. So God didn't send the malach to stop Abraham. The malach was created through the act of the Akedah. Proving that that's all he had to do was the intent, didn't have to go through with it. Otherwise the malach wouldn't be around. And then, David, he brings a ram instead of a son. And then it says what? After he does that, a second malach comes out and says, because you did this, I swear, God says, that you're going to be like the stars of the heavens. Why was a second malach sent? After he sacrificed the ram, Rachmiel, it says, Vayikra malach Hashem shenit. Shenit means what? A second malach. Why? Why did God send a second malach? He didn't. When Abraham brought the ram, he did another mitzvah. Another mitzvah, you create what? Nacha malach. You getting this, Mindel? Otherwise, you wouldn't say malach shenit. The Akedah was one mitzvah, the intent to sacrifice his son. So one malach came and said, don't do it. I'm proof you did it. Even though you didn't. I think it's called virtual reality. Then it says, after he brought the ayil instead of his son, it says, Vayikra malach Hashem el Avram shenit. Because bringing the ram was nacha mitzvah. How do you say nacha mitzvah in English? Another mitzvah. Another mitzvah, you create what? Another malach. So God didn't send the malachim, Mindel. When we do a mitzvah, we create an angel. That's how the Mishnah knows from this story here of the Akedah. Isn't that amazing? Pretty amazing, huh? He called the place Hashem Yireh. God will see.
Right.
Why did he call Temple Mount Yafel God will see? Rashi makes a very strange comment. God will see the ashes of Yitzchak heaped up for a kapara. And therefore we read this parsha every Rosh Hashanah. We read this parsha, David. On the judgment day, Hashem Yireh, God will see the ashes of Yitzchak in front of him and will give us a kapara on Rosh Hashanah. Therefore this parsha is read on Rosh Hashanah. What do you mean ashes of Yitzchak? He didn't become ashes. Didn't he get married next week and have kids, right? What does he talk about ashes? From here the Talmud learns machshava tova kishbochem tav lamaisa. Chanoch, it's called virtual reality. Since Yitzchak wanted to become ashes, in God's eyes it's what? A done deal. So Hashem Yireh, God will see the ashes of Yitzchak, says Rashi. From here you learn out if a person wants to do a mitzvah with his full intention, and he's prevented from doing it by circumstances beyond his control, in God's eyes it's what? Done deal. Therefore, it doesn't say Yitzchak returned. It says Avraham returned alone. Even though Yitzchak did come down, otherwise he couldn't get married and have kids, right? The twins, right? But in God's eyes, it's like he never returned. You know, he never returned and he never returned and his fate is still unknown. Yiddish Mindel. Hashem Yireh, God will see the ashes of Yitzchak every Rosh Hashanah. And therefore this parsha is read on Rosh Hashanah. This is our kapara. But he never became ashes, Aram. Virtual reality. So how much God loves us. You want to do a mitzvah with your full intent. And then you're prevented by circumstances beyond your control, and Hashem's eyes, it's a done deal. Therefore it says that only Abraham came down the mountain. Then it says he went Yachdav el Beersheba. Who's waiting for him? The servants, right? They went together to Beersheba. Avraham, you understand this? That means they took the same sherut. Nesher? Before, I need to know 3,800 years ago, Avram's coming down the mountain with Yitzchak. And you know, they took the same Nesher taxi back to Beersheba. Why should I care? Every word of the Torah is what? GPS. Why tell me they went Yachtov back to Beersheba? They didn't take two separate sheruts. You ever go with Nesher?
Ken.
Okay, they took the same Nesher back. What's going on over here? You sitting down? Avraham and Yitzchak had just reached the pinnacle of Kedusha and spirituality that a human being can reach in this earth. Greater than angels. What an awesome spiritual experience at the Akedah. Seeing Malachim. They're coming down the mountain. Who's waiting for them? Servants. They could have said, step aside. Do you know where I've been? Take your hat off to me. You know what my son and I have just been through? You peasants. Vayelchu Yachdav, says Hirsch. The greatest of Avraham and Yitzchak, no matter reaching the heights of spirituality, greater than angels, communing with God on the holy mountain, such an awesome test. They felt Yachdav, I'm no better than the servants. Can you imagine that? I'm no better than the help in the kitchen. Vayelchu Yachdav. What a message. The humility of Avraham and Yitzchak. Despite being towering above every human being, they felt Yachdav. What does Yachdav mean? I'm together, I'm not better than you. That's pretty incredible. Then the Haftorah. The Haftorah speaks about the Isha Shonamet and Elisha. You hear? This great tzaddikas lady, Achnosas Orchim, the whole Parshat, Chanoch, Achnosas Orchim, she takes Elisha into her home, she builds him an apartment. Hope she got a building permit, otherwise she'd get a fine. She builds him an apartment in her attic for Elisha. He's an Ish Elokim, she says. He's a man of God, a holy man. And what does she need? She has everything except she doesn't have a child. Right? So he blesses her. And he says, in 1 year's time, At choiveket ben, you will be hugging a child. Therefore, this child is called Chavakuk. What does Chavakuk mean? The hugged one. So Ish Elokim, imagine a Novi Hashem gives you a bracha. You want a child, and you can't have one. So what should she have said? Thank you, great prophet and rabbi. That's what she should have said, David, right? You know what she says? Oh, please, my master, man of God, don't lie to me. What, lady? Take a pill and lie down. The Novi Hashem Ish Elokim, the great miracle worker Elisha, promised you a baby when you can't have one. So instead of saying, thank you, Rabbi, you know what she says? Oh, man of God, don't lie to me. What kind of bizarre answer is that, Avraham? Mendel, what's going on over here? What's going on over here? So Chazal tell us that she had Ruach HaKodesh. She knew what happens? The baby dies. She knew the baby's going to die. She knew the baby's going to die, and he died. And then when he died, she runs to him. She says, didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you don't lie to me? Why is the Navi telling me this happened how many thousands of years ago? What is the message? Okay, but she didn't know that. And he didn't know that either, that it's going to work. What was the debate between these two great people? Elisha, the great prophet, and this holy woman, Isha Shanamet, who had Ruach HaKodesh. What was the debate, Chava, and why? Tell me about it. She knew the baby was going to die, Ruach HaKodesh. She said, if the child won't live, I'm better off not having him. Elisha said, you're wrong. A child is precious no matter how long he lives. Every moment is an eternity. That was a debate between Elisha and this great woman. She said, if the baby's not going to live, then why have him in the first place? And Elisha said, you're wrong. Only God decides on what? On the life of a child. And every moment the child lives is an eternity. And that has eternal value forever. My child was born sick. The doctor said he will not last 6 months. He lived to be almost 11. And every day we appreciated him. What a powerful message. Doctors don't know anything. They said he won't make it for 6 months. He made it almost to 11 years old. So every moment we cherished and appreciated that we had him for the amount of time that we had him. And how did we console ourselves when he died? The same thing King David said. Remember? When King David's baby died, first baby he had with what? With Bathsheba. How did he console himself? He said that he will not be joining me, but I will be joining him. So that's after 120, we'll be together again. We have to know that. After 120, we'll be reunited again. Because we believe in Olam Haba, Olam HaEmet, as opposed to Olam HaSheker. So this is the great debate between this great prophet and the Isha Gedolah. This great woman, this Baal Chesed, like Sarah. Perhaps even greater, she built an apartment for him. Whenever he passed by, she would not. He would stay upstairs by her.
The rent was good.
The rent was right on the house. Mm-hmm. It's amazing that we learn out Eshel from Avram Avinu, right? Achila Shtiya, and he also escorted them. He escorted them. Eshel stands for Achila, Shtiya, Leviyah. Food, drink, and an escort out the front door. Now, what's the most important part of the mitzvah Knossos Horachim? You'd ask me, Avram, I'll say the food and the drink, right?
No.
But the Rambam says, Achi Choshuv is what? The Leviyah. The Rambam says, Achi Choshuv is the Leviyah. The escort out the front door, at least 10 feet.
The most important.
Most important part of the Knossos Horachim, the 3-part mitzvah, is after the food and the drink, is to escort him out the front door.
Especially if he's drunk.
What?
Especially if he's drunk.
Why, Mindel? The Rambam doesn't say why. Because he didn't want the morale to be unemployed. So the morale explains what the Rambam means. Avram, please hear me. Food and drink, it's important, but it's only temporary. You give the guy a meal, if it's Chinese dinner, in 12 minutes he's hungry again. A lot of MSG. But even you give him a steak dinner, right? In 4 hours or 5, he's hungry again. The food and the drink, says the Maral, is a physical pleasure, and anything in the physical world, by definition, Avi, is only what? Temporary. It wears off. But when you escort a person out the front door, at least 10 feet outside, not in the house, outside the front door, you're giving covet to the neshama, says the Maral. You're giving a pleasure to the soul. That doesn't wear off like a Chinese dinner. The neshama appreciates that you escort her out. That means you appreciated her company. The soul is feminine. And you want her back. So that doesn't wear off like food and drink, because that's covet for the neshama. And therefore the Rambam says the most important part of the mitzvah, people don't know that, is what? The Leviyah. The famous story in Vilna, Avram, this great Baal Chesed who used to invite guests to his home, his house burned down. So he ran to the Vilna Gaon. He says, Rebbe, this is coming to me? He says, I know you. You do Achila Shtiya, but you don't do Leviyah. Eshel without the Lamed is what? Esh. Fire. You don't do Leviyah. So you left Aleph, Shin, Achila Shtiya, but you forgot the Lamed.
And who is this?
Someone in Vilna, during the Vilna Gaon's time. So it's very important that after you give a person a nice meal, to walk him out the front door at least 10 feet. Not in the house. After you leave your house, 10 feet down the stairs. Because that's hana for the neshama. That's eternal hana. It doesn't wear off like physical food and drink, Avi. The neshama gets hana from that. That stays with the soul forever. Covered for the neshama. So this week's parsha, the mitzvah of achnosas orchim. When we invite a guest into our home, we're imitating Kodesh Baruch Hu, emulating Kodesh Baruch Hu, who invites us into his home, i.e. his beautiful world every day. So therefore, we should cherish this mitzvah of achnosas orchim. It doesn't matter if the guy is rich or poor. It's not like tzedakah, Chanoch. People make a mistake. Tzedakah is only for poor people. Achnosas orchim, so any person that needs a meal, that's lonely, he could be a millionaire. If he's alone, it's a tremendous mitzvah, whether he has money or not.
So you invite guests and shows.
That's right. That's right. The Gemara in Chagiga says in the end, Avram Berkowitz, the Talmidim asked Yochanan Zakkai, when we had the Beis Hamikdash, the Mizbeach was our kapara. But today we ain't got no Mizbeach. What does the rabbi say? Your table. You invite guests to your table, that's your Mizbeach. Should I repeat that, David? When you invite a guest to your home, said Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai at the end of Chagiga, your table is like your Mizbeach. When you invite guests to the table and speak Divrei Torah, that's your kapara, like the Mizbeach. Comes your altar, right?
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.